Hey guys, it's Jeremy Cook and Pat Regan, and just so you know, we're going to say this is the Creativity Podcast, but it's actually Create/Invent Podcast because we changed the name, and we had recorded this beforehand. So enjoy the show.
Fantastic. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Creativity Podcast. I'm Pat Regan. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Jeremy Cook. And today we're interviewing my friend Alex. Alex is an audio engineer type person. And he didn't tell me if I'm allowed to tell everybody that he works for Bose. But he works for Bose. And I've been helping him the last few weeks work on these SodaStream adapter doodads. But we're going to get to that later. But for now, Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Pat, and it's good to see you too on the podcast here. It's my first time on a podcast, so cool. This is new and exciting for me.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be great. You know, you working with audio and stuff, and you know, when we get into it, you can maybe tell us how we could improve our home audio studio. You know, whether that's for Zoom meetings, whether it's for podcasts like ours, or whatever else. Now, you have some expertise in actual video, right? Like green screens and stuff too?
Absolutely, yeah. My latest big project was actually for Bose at Bose headquarters in Massachusetts, and we set up an entire, it was about $40,000 setup for a giant green screen, 2 camera angles, and a bunch of other really fun stuff there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've set up a couple studios for larger corporations. And it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, we'll ask you about that too after we get to the studio stuff. But first, like what? So you live near Pat, I guess, in Plano, Texas, correct?
Yep, I live in the Dallas area, near Pat.
Okay, very very cool. And I guess Bose is in, I guess what, Boston area? Is it Framing? It's not Boston. It's
Framingham. Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So a lot of people don't know this, but Bose is actually owned by MIT forever. So it's a really cool relationship for kind of the forward thinking of engineering and stuff like that. So they're out of Massachusetts, but I was able to be a 100% remote employee. So,
okay,
yeah.
That's great. And are you from Texas originally, or you migrated there from somewhere else?
I am from up north, the northern Midwest Michigan area. So yeah, it's nice to be down here in the nice warm temps.
I'm sure, at least right now. I'm sure during the summer it's pretty nice in Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I've been there one time for a job interview, and I didn't end up working for them, but it was pretty nice during the summer. I think they probably interview people during the summer so they'll come work for them.
I'd say that'd be a great tactic. I think the town I'm from was voted #1 tourist destination in the U.S. for summer. So
really?
I definitely think it's nice and pretty there. But you can't beat 75 degrees summer or Christmases here. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Versus 2 feet of snow back there is
a
little dangerous.
You live there. Do you have any? My notes say you have some dogs. Is that right? Or a dog?
Yeah, so here I have 1 dog, I have 1 cat, and I have a snake. So I've always wanted a snake since I was a little kid, and as soon as I got my house, I said, let's do it. So I have a dog named Ella, and she's a pit bull Chihuahua mix. I have a gray tabby named Shadow, and then the snake is a corn snake named Dorito Burrito.
Okay, yeah, corn snakes are nice snakes. I think I had one of those when I was little. You know, like just caught it, or maybe my dad did. I don't really know.
If you catch it yourself, how do you know what kind of snake it is?
Well, if you catch it in the corn, it's a corn snake.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Exactly. Jeremy has that. Yes, that's how it works.
Jeremy, Alex is always trying to get me to feed the snake. He has these little mice that you give it, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't think.
That was the most fun part about getting a snake was I didn't realize feeding it would be a reenactment of Jurassic Park every week. So it's a little intense, but really fun. And now that he's a lot bigger, it's even more fun because he's much more. It's not a little worm going after a mouse. It's like it's an event, and so Yeah, I don't mean to offend any PETA folks here, but it is an absolute entertainment to watch. So.
So you feed him once a week, or him? Is it a her? Is it a she snake? She snake.
I would call it a they right now, and that's just because we have not sexed the snake. So when they get old enough, you can bring them to a reptarium, something like that, and they will they will figure out, let's just say, how what gender they are, and then you can assign their name, I guess. So we don't know if it's Dorito Burrito or Dorita Burrita right now.
Yeah,
but
good point.
It's one of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a really fun journey learning about snakes, and some friends love it. They come over and that's all they want to see, and other friends, this guy over here, Pat, is not so fond of it. So
Yeah. You say over there now. You guys are in different buildings, correct? But you're like 3 miles away, but you've decided not to make the trip, not to commute. Was that too much traffic there in Plano?
Well, it's actually this might be an awesome segue into the studio stuff, because if I was in Pat's studio, you probably wouldn't be able to get me and Pat in the same shot with all the audio stuff figured out. So that's a really cool part about doing this type of stuff is audio considerations for two people is much more complicated than just one person.
Okay.
Yeah, what would we have to do? Talk into one big microphone, like one of those Blue Yetis that has the omnidirectional type of deal, or
you could.
Guess you could do whatever you want. Honestly, I've only recorded one time with somebody live. It was with the Physics Anonymous guys that we had on 2 weeks ago, Pat.
Yeah.
But the first time I actually went over. What's that?
2 months, Jeremy.
Two months. Who knows? 2 months, 2 weeks. It's all the same, I guess. But yeah, I actually went over there, and they had a pretty awesome house. They had like a rock wall up. It was pretty.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Now, if we're going to be talking about audio stuff, I want to address something before we go too far. Why does Alex sound so much worse than Jeremy and I today? If he's such a fancy audio guy. I mean, I know the answer. I'm just asking. I just want to make sure our audience understands that there's a technical reason. I
actually want to answer this because every time it's tradition that every time we have somebody over on that's a musical guest, somebody that knows about audio, et cetera, we have problems with the feed. And that's just, so it's just tradition, I think.
I think tradition is definitely the reason. I think, it just comes from a long line of people before me that have, had issues, and I'm no different,
But you do have, I see, Pat and I both have the just headsets on, but you have an actual, looks like a Bose headset with a microphone kind of jimmied onto that. Is that a custom job you got there?
That's correct. So this is actually the newer Bose noise canceling headphones, and then this is a microphone from the gaming headset
that I'm wearing.
That Pat actually has as well. The difference in audio quality comes strictly down to the application of the microphone. So you guys both have really nice microphones that are actual large capsule condenser or dynamic microphones that are sitting in front of you. And due to my, amazing preparedness, I don't have one of those with me. And this microphone, the application of it is strictly for vocal clarity. Right? So it's going to take out a lot of the bass, take out a lot of the high treble, and do a little noise reduction from the front to the back of the microphone, where your guys' microphones, you could actually record a whole song on them, right? Like you could record a guitar, you could record vocals, drums, whatever you'd like, and those are made to capture the entire audio spectrum and aren't as application driven. So basically what this boils down to is that this microphone is for voice. You can understand me.
Yeah, loud and
Box
clear.
is checked.
You're very legible.
That's all it's meant to do. I would not record a guitar or a song with this microphone.
Alex, I mostly just wanted to make sure that everybody who was listening understood. and didn't say, why on earth would we listen to audio advice from a guy that sounds like this guy?
Ooh, oh, see? It sounds great.
Yeah, sounds fun. Actually, that's probably the first time I've recorded me playing that ukulele. Period.
First time ever. You heard it here first.
Heard it here first.
There we go.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that being said, so you being an audio engineer, you probably have some advice for us. I mean, first of all, what's more important? Is it the microphone you have, or is it the surroundings of your studio? What that makes the big difference?
So, with audio specifically, and this is much different than video systems, right? So when we're talking about doing a conferencing or a recording setup like we're doing here, it all comes down to the rule of diminishing returns, right? So it's like if you buy let's say a Fender Telecaster, but you buy the Squire version, which is the cheaper version, right? If you're a great guitar player, nobody may notice that you're playing that specific guitar. But if you're a crappy guitar player, then it doesn't matter if you have a Squire or a Telecaster Classic. It's not going to work. That really comes down to your room. So if you can imagine, your room is kind of the point of diminishing returns. So you can spend money on a microphone like this or a microphone like you guys have, and you will notice a big difference. But then how do you get further into the better category? How do we actually refine that to make it sound better, less echoey, more full, something like that?
Well, do you think
that's the room?
Do you think the microphone is the first thing somebody should pick up if they're looking to improve their microphone quality, or is it the room?
Yeah, so if I were to make a list for people to pick up, I would start with a nice USB microphone. And that wasn't always the case. It used to be USB microphones did not sound as good as standard XLR, more professional connection microphones, but they are right up there with the pack now. So I would say first would be a nice microphone. Your phone or your laptop have good enough cameras to get your message across. Mm-hmm. And then it'd be a nicer camera. Would be the next step, because video, you can spend a lot more money and get a lot more results than you can with audio. And what I mean by that is, if you get a nice microphone, let's say a $200 microphone, or you buy a $1,200 microphone, the audience won't really hear the difference there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, listening to you and everybody else, like, it seems to me like once you tune into something, as long as the person is consistent, the quality can be kind of bad. I mean, your quality is not bad, but I think if you were to switch to really great quality for 2 minutes and then back to, okay quality for a while, I think that would be more off-putting than, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I've seen that before.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that you're more likely to tune out of a YouTube video if it sounds bad than if it looks bad. You're not going to listen to somebody talk with horrible audio for 3 minutes.
Absolutely, and this is actually a great showcase in audio, right? You have comparison between me and you two, and so if we were all using the same type of microphone, it would be hard for us to say, well, this is this type of microphone and this is this type of microphone, because there's no real example. So this is actually great to show, the first step that you may take if you want to be a streamer or do content creation is a nice microphone. So
you essentially there, Alex, have a gaming headset is what you're talking
about. Yeah. Why don't we go through, Alex, why don't you talk and you say what kind of microphone you have, just kind of give a sample of what you have. Would that be cool for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have right here is the Bose gaming headset microphone, which is great for just vocals. But what I use typically if I'm going to be on a conference call or talking with a customer or something like that is they call it the mod mic. And it's a microphone that actually can go on any headset. It's a little magnet that clicks onto it, and it sounds almost identical to what you guys are using. The only problem with it is it's not USB out of the box. So there's more things in the audio chain to worry about.
And then Pat, what kind of microphone do you have?
Mine
If you
is
could get
a
little sample.
Deity D4 shotgun mic, a mini shotgun mic about this big. And I
So
got
yours
this
is actually
shotgun.
sitting on the monitor facing you from.
No, it's on an IKEA lamp arm with the lamp taken off, right about
Okay.
here. Well, you might not be able to hear me if I put my hand in front of it there.
Sure, but it's a couple feet away from you,
It's about
correct?
this far from my face right
Which
now.
is about a foot from what I can.
Yeah,
from
okay,
what I
I'll
can
say
tell.
that's about a foot. And
Okay.
I got this because I borrowed a camera slider from Alex, and he had the Rode version of this mic in there, and I plugged it in. And this eliminated all the noises from my PC fan. I don't know if we're quiet, if you can't hear. Well, we'll probably edit them out anyway if they were in there, but most of my ambient noise is gone because of the shotgun mic.
And roughly how much do you spend for that mic, Pat?
$40, I think.
$40.
And you
Okay.
have to have something to plug that into, a sound card. I have it plugged into another microphone, a Zoom microphone.
Okay.
Just because it was already there.
And my mic, just for completeness, I use a Samson Meteor mic, I believe it is, and it's about maybe a little closer than Pat's is to his, maybe 8 inches or so, and it's right in front of my face. I've got a pop filter, so hopefully you can't hear that too well, but we'll see.
I have not heard any pops, Jeremy.
Okay, good. So yeah, I guess that's, mine was about $100. So, I just kind of wanted to kind of throw that out there for,
Is
people
yours
to
a
hear.
USB mic?
Mine is a USB mic, and yours is not, correct,
Mine is
Pat?
not.
Yours is adapted, and then Alex, yours is a USB mic, obviously.
Yeah. So the gaming headset comes with this puck thing, and so your headset plugs in here, and that delivers audio to your ears, and then microphone back, and then this side goes USB into your computer. And the overall cost, if you look at the gaming headset versus the other headset, it's a $30 difference to get the puck and the mic. And so if you can imagine, $30 minus whatever the profit margin is, this is probably $10-15 in microphone technology. So there's a big gap between, as you're saying, $10-15 or $30 to the consumer to $100 or more.
Right.
And we're hearing that.
But that $1,000, spending $1,000 on a mic might not be the right way to go after that, right?
Absolutely.
So you might want to look
if-
at your room itself. Is that putting words in your mouth? But I feel like that's maybe where you're going to go with this.
Yeah, I would say start with a microphone. If I were to recommend any microphones right off the bat, Blue makes some really good stuff. They make a Snowball, they make a Yeti, and then my current favorite, which I don't own but I'd love to get my hands on one, is the Elgato Wave, I believe is what it's called, and that's just a wonderful product. Comes with a stand and all sorts of stuff. But once you get that USB microphone set up, you'll notice, just like Pat just said, oh no, now I'm hearing the room. So when I speak, you can hear it, but now I'm hearing an echo of things around me, or I'm hearing, a fan, or my HVAC system, or all of these different things that are different than what you'd hear on the radio, right? Which is just a nice full broadcast voice. So the next thing to do is not to buy a nicer microphone, but to make your room sound better. And what I mean by your room sound better is to treat your room. It's basically what causes bad sound quality is the combination of direct audio and then what we call early reflections, or the first reflection. So when I say something, the microphone will hear it. It then bounces off the wall and comes back to the microphone. And that's a lot of people can't place it. They can't say, this is why it sounds bad. That's the reason right there. And so if you can stop those early reflections, you can increase the quality of your sound quite dramatically. And so we can see Pat actually has some gear in his background set up to do just that.
I do. Someone was nice enough to bring me some sound panels.
I wondered about this because Pat's room, I've seen it set up. He's got several square sound panel is set up, but it's not like he's covered the whole room. It's not like it's a anechoic chamber. I guess that'd be the right term, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
It's basically taking out some of the reflections, but not much. I mean, ideally, would he just have everything covered in sound deadening material, or is that not good either?
Well, ideally, if you just wanted your voice and nothing else, yes, you would be in an anechoic chamber, but it really comes down to application, right? Are you making a $200 million blockbuster? Then yes, we probably want to spend the money to get everything out so I can put in music and sound effects and all this stuff, right? Or am I on a podcast enjoying this with my friends, but I want it to sound like those nicer YouTubers. I don't want it to sound like me. I want it to sound like they sound, because it's more pleasing to the ear. Then what you really need to focus on is if I talk, and you can imagine it's like a cone coming from my mouth, and it hits things, and then hits other walls, and then comes back to my microphone. How do I stop that from happening? So what Pat has done is he has some sound panels directly behind his monitor, and then directly behind him, you can see on his right shoulder, there's a triple stack, and then some on the other side. And then he has a couple more around the side of the room, and they're at head level. And basically what that means is when he talks, it is diffused into those panels and doesn't bounce back to the microphone. And thus it sounds like he's in what we would call a dry room, or it has a drier sound. Dry and wet are typically used for, like, when you talk about reverb. If you were to walk into a church and clap your hands, you'd go and on a reverb effects box, if you turn it all the way to wet, you hear the kind of a thing. So it comes from the audio engineering folks, but a drier sound is what most people are after in a home space.
Alex,
Right.
I've watched a lot of content about this sort of stuff, and I've heard several people say that if you go too dry, it sounds weird, and professionals that make a recording that's too dry end up having to add back ambient feel, I guess, into the audio to make it not feel so, I don't know,
Anechoic?
sterile? So sterile?
Yeah. So this actually is a really fun kind of traversal between industries, right? So when you look at the film industry, and then you look at how accessible film tools are now. I mean, look at what we're doing, the quality of our cameras, the background, the audio. We're now at a point where 20 years ago, you'd go, whoa, kind of a thing, right? So if we have access to the same tools that audio engineers did 20 years ago, what lessons can we learn from the mistakes they made and what they're doing now? And one of those things is if you were to take a recording of yourself, talk, pause, and talk again, and you were to actually delete all of the waveform between your words, you would hear your voice and the sound of the room, and then it would be dead silent. And then you'd hear voice and the sound of the room again, and it'd be really jarring, right? So in the film industry, what they actually do is you wait 5 seconds at the beginning of the take. You roll sound, roll picture, capture the sound of the room, and then come back. And what that allows the editor to do is if they need to add a pause between people talking, they have a recording of the silence. So it sounds like we would hear, right? I mean, imagine if I were talking to you, Jeremy, and when I stopped talking, you didn't hear the room around you. You just heard dead. It'd be very weird, right? So what Pat's talking about there is if you make a space that's too dry, then when you stop talking, the silence is almost eerie.
Mm.
It just is. It doesn't feel cinematic or familiar or normal at all.
Interesting. So basically, you want to treat your room somewhat so there's less echo, but you still want a little bit of whatever echo,
Character, we'll
character.
say, yeah, something.
So
Yep.
you want to treat it, but you don't want to. I mean, I guess if you over treat it, I guess you just tear it down.
I have a feeling that with our budgets, we could not over-treat a room. Jeremy would be my
Probably
guess.
not.
Yep.
But I think this follows kind of the 80-20 rule, right? Where we could spend 20% of the money and effort and get 80% of the results. which was what I felt
Sure.
like we got when you brought the first 12 panels over here a couple of months ago.
And can you talk about those panels a little bit? Because Pat was saying that these panels, they're kind of a triangular type thing, like, kind of like what I have up here, some, whatever, not exactly like that, but
Mine
they're
are
not just
thicker than what you have, Jeremy.
Oh, they're thicker.
At
Yeah,
the
mine are about...
between those peaks, that thin part, like not the tall part where you're feeling, but between the triangles, yeah, right there. Mine are all way thicker than that at their thinnest. I thought that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that really matters.
Well, this is just something I, not really knowing much about it, got off of Amazon. But Alex, I believe what it is these take out the higher frequencies, and then he has something on the back to take out the low frequencies. It's kind of like a dual layer sound
Exactly.
deadening.
So,
Alex, before you answer, can I
go
say
for it, Pat.
something? Alex
for it,
accidentally built me out of cheaper parts the almost exact equivalent of the new Elgato Wave panels that everybody's so excited about on YouTube.
Well,
and yeah, so how does audio treatment work? You have reflection, diffusion, and absorption, right? So reflection means sound comes out a wall and it bounces right off, right? If you have a flat wall, that'll happen and you'll get an echoey room. Absorption would be the sound goes into something and no longer exists. Its energy gets trapped in that medium. And then diffusion would mean it comes at something and maybe it's like a curved surface, right? And it hits that curved surface and then is scattered from that, right? So we have three different ways to affect sound, just kind of like you would do with light, but it's a bit different of a medium. So what we really need to make sure is when you listen to audio, there's going to be a certain set of frequencies that drive you nuts. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I love
is
it.
that thing? So what I'm showing here is a bunch of triangles arranged on a board. Is this doing a good job of diffusion, or am I just wasting my time here? And it looks pretty though. So
it is an art piece, and it's a very effective audio treatment piece as well.
All right.
So yeah, that's a good job right there. Absolutely.
thank you.
So what we have to understand is audio is comprised of many frequencies, right? And those frequencies have different lengths. So a wavelength of me talking may be around 2 to 3,000 hertz, or we'd call it 1 or 2K for kilohertz. So that wavelength, right, is the thing that we're trying to change. And you can think of 1 kilohertz as 1 foot of a wavelength, right? So my speech is up in kind of like this range, right?
Three or
Maybe
four
a little
inches?
bit wider. Yeah. And so you can affect a sound wave by having at least a quarter length of that wave in material. Right? So that's where you start to, if we want to attack a specific spectrum, that's where we start to look at how we'd want to treat the room. So these panels that you guys are talking about on Amazon, they do a really good job at maybe the 4 to 6K, so stuff that's really, really small, because they can envelop that entire wave when it hits and it gets absorbed or stops the reflection there. But when we're talking about our speech, right, that's a little bit longer. So what can we do without breaking the bank, right, to help our voices sound better and stop those reflections? What you can do is you can make the audio energy or sound energy pass through different densities of material. And so when you do that, it's going through one density of material, then going through another, then reflecting, then has to repeat that back. And so that's what we did with Pat. We bought the foam pads, and then on the back you can buy little, I think it was half-inch.
You might have bought
Pat?
half-inch, but the ones I bought were 0.4 inch felt, thick
4.4
felt.
inch. And they're these just really dense pieces of I don't know, fiberglass.
Don't talk yet. I'm gonna pull one down off the wall over here, so that
Oh no,
it'll be okay.
Here
It'll
we
be
go.
okay. I just don't want to miss anything.
And the resulting thing was that we got 12 1 square foot pieces for $50.
I'm knocking everything over.
All right, Pat. What do these things look like?
They're mushroom shaped on this side, is what Amazon told me this is called.
Yep.
And on the back, they called it felt. It's very stiff. I mean, I'm trying to bend that.
All right, so this sound panel that Pat's showing us has mushroom-shaped, 9 mushroom-shaped kind of bumps, you could say, on top of a 1/2 inch of foam, and then behind that is 0.4 inches of a felt
and
type
it's pretty
material.
dense.
So
it's hard.
you can
I mean,
imagine...
I could break this. I could break this, but I'm putting quite a bit of force into it to just get that much of a bend. It's rigid.
And so for $50, we could do basically 12 square feet of wall space. And if you wanted to up that to $100, you could do, 24 square feet.
I bumped mine to
and
24. Not because when you put the 12 in, it was night and day difference in my audio. But the layout was dumb. It looked stupid behind me. So I got twice as many just to put it in a pattern.
And that's where, our home studio folks are going to be battling aesthetics and budget, typically. And so if you can imagine the journey of that audio wave, right? It's coming out of your mouth. It hits the microphone. Then, without audio treatment, it's going to bounce off the wall and come back and create what we would consider bad audio quality or room noise. But if you have that up there, you can imagine it's coming from your mouth, hitting the microphone, then it's passing through a layer of foam, then through a layer of felt, then hitting the wall, then has to pass through the felt and the foam again. And at that point, it's been absorbed pretty substantially. So if you want to spend more, you can create thicker treatment. Right, so in my, I'm in my garage right now, but in my home studio, where my office is, typically the treatment I've used is called Roxol, and I use 2 inches of Roxol, and it's a mineral wool.
Hey, Shadow.
Hello. This is Shadow, my cat.
Is it the Elgato treatment?
No, it is not the Elgato treatment. It's a custom built.
But that's an Elgato on your lap there.
Oh, this is Elgato. Yeah, absolutely. This is Elgato right here. Absolutely.
Cat just walked in the stream for you guys that are listening.
Absolutely. She's
Alex,
in charge.
I'm in the process of building one Roxol panel right now. But we can't... If we air this before Christmas, our Christmas present to Brian is going to be ruined. Let me get my... You probably can't see this too good, so I'm going to do this. This is part of it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
We're making it... That's
awesome.
It's a 30 by 30 inch panel
is that
with
a
Brian's
Brian Moses
face on it.
Face thing?
Brian Moses' face.
Nice.
Yeah, for those listening, Brian Moses is has he been on the podcast before?
We should
he's
correct that
been on the
someday.
podcast.
No, he may have been on the podcast before, and he is a good friend of Pat and I's. Yes, and he has a logo that's his face, and so Pat just held up a 30 by 30 inch version of that logo that he made on his CNC. It's pretty impressively
He helped us
large.
host the first time we did the live stream.
Oh yeah, the time I remember that. You're right. He was on a live stream.
Maybe that doesn't count. I don't know. So, it's kind of. I remembered Brian, so I appreciate that.
But back to what I was saying about with the audio stuff. If you really want to make your space, the best of the best, basically you start to increase the depth of your treatment. And that will increase in both cost and take up space. So you'll start to see that, my 14 by 14 foot room, if I have a 1/2 foot on all the walls, is now much smaller. So
the kitty's
Alex
that's so nice.
She's climbing.
The kitty is on Alex's shoulders now, just having a good time.
This is okay, Alex. This is good for views.
Yep.
It's good. It's good video content if you guys want to watch it.
There we go.
He's petting. He takes good care of his kitty apparently. So.
Yes, I do. She's can be needy during the day. Yeah. So you can see how more audio treatment equals more money and less space. So if you really want to make the best of the best, you'll design the space around the application, which most of us don't have the luxury of doing because we're in a fixed space like a house or an office.
And some of us can't get rid of all the noisy things like the 2 computers over here and whatnot.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting, Alice, that you say that because I mean, looks like you have a really nice, like window table. It looks like you have really, really beautiful space there. You've got one of the nicest garages I've ever seen. Actually, can you comment on that?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. I built this place a while ago, and one of the biggest things I wanted to do is have just a nice natural light, space for the garage, and what that entailed was actually, from scratch. Oh,
from scratch. Yeah, it looks green now.
Yeah, so this is where I am. I'm in my garage. You can see the garage doors right here and here, and my top-down camera right here. But what I've done is I've taken a green screen and digitally changed my background. And so that's why it looked so nice and inviting. But this is real life, right? This is the Instagram filter taken off.
Yeah.
Right here. So
how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so I have a camera right up here, and that camera is feeding into what's called a capture card, and that basically takes HDMI digital video and turns it into a USB format that your computer can read. And most people that have a basic streaming setup would be familiar with that. Then we're running it into a program to alter the video or change it in some way. And the best live software money can buy for free is OBS Studio. It's open source, and it's called Open Broadcast Studio. And what it allows you to do is take in audio and video, mix it, change it, and then put it out live. And that's the big difference, right? There's tons of stuff that can edit video and do cool things, but how do you do that live? So what you're seeing is what I'm saying without me having to, add an effect and do all this stuff. So that's what the software does. And basically what I have is 2 things going on back here. The first thing is called an image mask, because you can see my green screen is not as wide as my arms here, right? So how did I have the office outside of the green screen? Well, to do that, what I did was I turned on what's called an image mask. And all an image mask is it's saying...
Oh, you even drew a little box over where your top-down camera is in the way there.
Yeah. Let me turn this off so it's more apparent. There we go. So all this is it's a black and white image, and you can just take a screenshot from OBS once you have the video coming in. Just take a screenshot, and then in GIMP, Paint, Photoshop, whatever your image processing program may be. For those that don't know, GIMP is the graphics image.
The GNU image manipulation program.
Exactly. So it's basically the open source version of Photoshop. That allows you to you can take a screenshot of OBS, which is just this green screen, and then all I've done, you can see here, is in Photoshop just drawn black over everything I don't want to see. Really simple select tool with the little paint bucket, bam, you've got the black, and then white for what I do want to see. Then in OBS, all I have to do is go to my camera, add a filter. There's a button called Image Mask, and I click this image, and now we have black here. So that's step 1. Step 2, chroma key. So what a chroma key is it takes a light value, in this case green, and says that is the same thing as black, right? And so when it does that, that allows us to then replace the black with anything we want. So to turn the chroma key on, it's a simple button in the filters. So I'll turn that on, and now you can see both the black and the green are the same at this point. And then the last thing is to add a layer behind you, and that is just another layer in OBS, and we can turn that on, and there we have our nice custom natural light background.
Because you see some people on Zoom or at al, I guess, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. Zoom, etc. You'll see sometimes they'll replace the background with something, but it won't look quite right. I mean, yours looks almost perfect, and I guess that's just the fact that you've actually gone to the trouble of putting the green screen behind you and doing the masking and such as you're saying. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. So what okay. Sorry guys, the cat is back. I'm gonna put you down there. The difference between what Zoom is doing and what I'm doing here is that Zoom is using machine learning to say, oh, that's a person, cut that out, and put an image behind it. The problem is, Jeremy, you can see there's some space here and here. Same on Pat, and same on you, Jeremy. Zoom can't recognize that little space
the space
here.
in between your headphones. Okay.
Yeah, in there should probably have the image behind it. Right? And so you'll see wherever their room is here, and you'll also see it in their glasses. So when you take the glasses off on Zoom, you would see... Hey, cat. You would see the background of their room through the lenses. But right now, what you see is
that's
the actual background I've chosen. And that's because it's green behind here. So the computer is saying anything that's green should be this background. So what you end up gaining with a green screen is like a water bottle. If you were to hold it up here, it would actually look like this space would look refracted through a water bottle. Same with the glasses. You can see they look correct. It's those little, last inch things that make the human eye go, something's not right there. So that's the big difference.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I think we've gone over some great stuff with you. I was just thinking maybe we could take a coffee break and we could maybe ask you about your SodaStream adapter, which is something a little I have no experience with, but that'll be interesting to see what that's all about. You also got a store on Etsy, I think. Some other stuff. I've been working on my fountain, which has been quite the adventure. So, we'll come back, maybe talk about some other, tangentially related stuff. If that sounds good with you guys.
It sounds great to me because I would like to drink some coffee, Jeremy.
Sounds good. Well, we'll be back later. All right, everybody, welcome to the coffee break, where we give a shout out to our top 5 patrons that support us on Patreon.
All right, I'll do the count to make sure you don't list too many, Jeremy.
Okay, great. So first of all, Positive Waves, Stuart Morrow, Christina Curdy, Raptor, Michael Sizer. We got to give Carl a shout out because he's quite the new Patreon. So all of you, we appreciate you supporting the show. It's really awesome, and yeah, it's really, really encouraging to us, just beyond the money, just to know that people value us enough to pledge money. I think that's great.
It really does. I actually feel like somebody cares when we get a patron. It's exciting.
If you want to support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/thecreativitypodcast. Is that correct, Pat?
You sure can. That is absolutely correct. And even if you don't want to pay us money, because we definitely don't require that you pay us money, we would never do that. You can also like our video on YouTube. You can hit the like button on SoundCloud or, I don't know the name of it, Spotify?
Spotify. Yeah, you know what? You can listen to us on Spotify now. I've got that hooked up. So
fantastic. We'd be excited if you'd leave a comment on any of these platforms, too. You can let us know if we're doing a good job or a bad job or any kind of a job.
We are doing some sort of job. With all that said, we'll go ahead and get you guys back to your regularly scheduled program.